taking a detour from our usual lists and documentary videos, we've decided to hop in our DeLorean and travel back in time like Huey Lewis to 1985, a year jam-packed with all-star collaborations, mega concerts, and the World Wrestling Federation's first foray into the world of music. By almost any critical standpoint, the wrestling album is awful. Awfully entertaining, that is. And while it didn't fetch the Fed any Grammy Awards, it sold well enough to spawn a sequel, gave us some cult classics, and helped usher in the Rock and Wrestling Connection era. So come on, everybody, let's sing along with Jimmy, because I'm Kevin Callis from Wrestling Behind the Themes, and let's take a track-by-track look at the WWF Wrestling Album. Kicking the album off with an ensemble cover of Wilson Pickett's Rhythm and Blues classic. Not that Rhythm and Blues, baby. This motley crew of sports entertainers na their way through the land of 1,000 dances, as everyone does the side-to-side clap-along in unison, except for my favorite of all time, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, who just kisses his biceps back and forth. Things start well enough with the song's famous refrain playing over a jovial bass line, with the wrestlers spitting out lyrics one after the other, until by the end it turns into quite the chaotic, cringe-worthy cacophony of sound. And by wrestlers, by the way, I'm referring to basically everyone on the World Wrestling Federation roster in 1985, including jobbers like S.D. Jones, this dude, and also apparently, Ma, we want the meatloaf! The music video for Land of 1,000 Dances is so powerfully 80s and fun, but also does such a great job at getting everybody's gimmick over, as they try and keep the good guys and bad guys separated, until Rowdy Roddy has had enough and demands everybody out of the pool. Originally recorded in 1981 by obscure rapper Captain Chameleon, Grab Them Cakes is a funky little track that didn't happen to be about the Junkyard Dog's fanatical love of Little Debbie's snack cakes. It's really about a neighborhood dance that entails moving left, moving right, and then grabbing two big old handfuls of your partner's tuchus. JYD gets to get down with disco queen Vicky Sue Robinson, who had a big hit in the 1970s called Turn the Beat Around. The dog's bite here was certainly just as powerful as his bark, and JYD even got to perform this tune on Dick Clark's American Bandstand. Next up, according to the carefully scripted commentary in between tracks by Vince McMahon, Mean Gene Okerlund, and Jesse the Body Ventura, was apparently a new artist named Derringer. That's right, like Prince or Madonna. Derringer had written a song dedicated to Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo, aka the US Express. However, by the time of its release in November of 1985, Big Barry had already bolted from the Fed before the album had even made its way onto the shelves of your local Tower Records. And of course, as the story goes, Derringer's Real American was bestowed upon some dude named Hulk Hogan. This theme, with all its glorious guitars and spirited synthesizers, became the Hucksters' unquestionable anthem. Well, sort of. More on that a little later. So here we have the Mouth of the South feeling pretty butthurt that his girlfriend decided to go see a Rick Springfield concert rather than spend some quality time all alone with him. I mean, can you blame this girl Cindy for dropping a skinny pipsqueak like Jimmy for a soap opera hunk like Dr. Noah Drake? Now don't ask me how I know who Springfield played on General Hospital, okay? Just let's move along, please. Now, Hart had done the music thing in the 1960s with a group called the Gentry, and also had a couple of hits, specifically a tune called Keep On Dancing. But this was the 80s, dingus, and the swinging 60s were long over. However, what we have here is a lively pop rock number, whose opening riff is almost Jesse's Girl, and wouldn't be out of place if it were covered by one of today's guitar pop bands. Now, personally, I'd rather hear Captain Lou do the Mario over and over again than spend even another minute listening to this well, this disaster is what it is. But being the respected broadcast journalist that I am, let's break this one down, shall we? The song that Albano eventually starts singing is actually a cover of a song by the American rock band NRBQ that the quartet actually penned in honor of the captain. I guess someone had the bright idea of having Albano sing the entire song on the wrestling album, which while I'm sure seems like a decent idea on paper, to be honest here, Captain Lou strumming the rubber bands on his face would have sounded like the sound of music compared to the deafening sound of this dreadfulness. Like something straight out of a Rocky movie. Hulk Hogan's theme by the WWF All-Stars is everything you could possibly want for a larger-than-life good guy hero. Pounding drums, intense synthesizers, and a rousing chorus all come together in one fiery ball of awesomeness that really has the 80s written all over it. And that's especially true when the dramatic guitar solos kick in, adding a sense of epicness that already sounds as though it should be the soundtrack to some montage of Hogan saying his prayers, eating his vitamins, snorting some lines, and hanging and banging with his best friend's wife, brother. A true highlight of this album. In all its adrenaline-pumping glory, this anthem became synonymous with not the Hulkster's theme music, but rather Hogan's Rock and Wrestling Saturday morning cartoon. And the song Ravishing by 80s movie pop star queen Bonnie Tyler. Jesse the Body, however, thought otherwise, as he can be heard on the post-track commentary, dry heaving heavily. Thankfully, for Jesse's tummy, the rowdy one was up next, singing a cover of a song by the little-known group Mike Angelo and the Idols, and their profanity-laden song called Everybody. Never one to shy away from controversy, the man whose character seemed to spend every day of his life living on the edge was well suited to tackle this number, and did he ever do it justice. The song's F you, I don't care what you think of me attitude was the perfect fit for the Hot Rod, who by the way has a pretty good set of pipes and easily has the best cut on this album. The way Roddy delivers that first "fuh, everybody" makes it obvious he was trying to get as close to cussing as possible without anyone finding out. Now, the one cover song on the album that stayed true to the original, Mean Gene Okerlund's version of the rock and roll classic Tutti Frutti, is a supercharged, sugar-coated romp that is both exciting and wildly entertaining. Sounding for all the world like Little Richard on amphetamines, the song's rousing tsunami of sparkling keys and jubilant bass lines serves as the blistering backdrop to a performance that Mean Gene truly throws his heart and soul into. Try not to two-step to this fiddle-friendly theme for country music fan turned WWE Hall of Fame wrestler James Morris, better known by the moniker Hillbilly Jim. Jim was a simple-minded, shaggy-bearded Appalachian hillbilly from Mud Lick, Kentucky, who could carry a tune for sure, and that tune was a down-home, folksy barn dance of a song called Don't Go Messin' with a Country Boy. For the perennial good guy that Hillbilly was, it's the perfect tune, even if it does happen to be one of the cheesiest things from the wrestling album. Must we say goodbye? And speaking of cheese, if you were looking for the wrestling album to end on a high note, you're going to be very disappointed. Sounding like ABBA colliding with Adam Sandler's Opera Man, this terrible disco version of David Whitfield's 1954 hit Cara Mia was very much intentionally awful. Nikolai Volkov was known for annoying audiences by singing the Russian national anthem before his matches, and this whole song simply takes that to another level. And that, my friends, is the end of the wrestling album.